It's Alexander Hamilton. Bam.
My goodness, Alexander Hamilton. Well, why
That's it.
why so what makes Alexander Hamilton so outstanding where even as a non-president that we still think that he would be in the top 4? And this is where we're gonna start. There's so many different things.
Alexander Hamilton did so much for this country and did to think that he did it in such a short lifetime because he died before the age of 50 because of losing a duel to Aaron Burr.
Yeah. And just
That'll
so
take you.
everyone knows, this is more than just the musical.
Oh yeah, no,
So,
no disrespect to the musical. We appreciate people who like the musical because it gets people involved in history and they kind of want to read about it and whatever. That's great. This is the history part of it. Mr. Hamilton.
Mr. Hamilton.
Mr. Hamilton. Alexander Hamilton, born in 1755, in the Caribbean, in the West Indies island of Nevis. He is born of an illegitimate relationship.
Right.
And throughout his political career later on, his political foes will not let him live down the fact that he was begat of an illegitimate relationship.
And not even from the
it,
colonies.
right. He grew up when he was 12. His mother passed away. His father left. He was off with maternal relatives in St. Croix. He went to go working at the age of 12 at an import-export business. And he was an avid reader and he was ambitious. And he, at the age of 12, showed what he could do. And within a couple of years, the people there just let him run the business. Imagine a 14-year-old running an import-export business. He's like, that's who he was. He wanted to move. He wanted to do things. He wanted to shake the world up. He was brilliant and he always wanted to do more. And he wanted this, that, and the other. And it wasn't until 1772 he immigrates to America to come and get educated. And at that time, the revolution is starting to kick off. 1773, the Boston Massacre occurs, and he starts writing a couple of pamphlets in support of the colonists and talking about this. He's getting involved in this stuff. 1774, he goes to King's College, which is now Columbia University in New York City, but he doesn't finish because Lexington and Concord kick off. And at that point in time, 1775, he starts reading. And I think he was reading before about military tactics.
Right.
He didn't come from any military background. He wasn't from any royalty. He wasn't raised with any of those kind of things. So he learned it from books. He read about it. He read about strategy and tactics and all those stuff. And when the revolution really kicked off after Lexington and Concord, he formulated and helped create an artillery battery for the New York militia to guard New York.
Right. And
kidding me?
And I mean, and just to go back and sort of talk about his education and talk about that issue where it's really, sort of amazing where the people, again, as Rob was saying, the import-export company that he was working for, they actually sponsored him and paid for him to leave, to leave where he was and come to the States, come to the colonies and educate himself. And so, again, going back to just how accomplished it was, coming to the States on your own, no family in no connection to the colonies, was sent there by these sponsors that were willing to pay for him and educate him. And then again, he gets involved and he educates himself in the military to the point where he not only serves in the military, but progresses up to it to the point where he goes from just being a normal, line grunt to a line officer to actually becoming an aide de camp to General Washington. So, I mean, that says something where you have somebody where he as Rob was saying, even with the artillery, the battery that he designed, it was at Yorktown that he really proved himself as far as being, really a military strategist.
Yeah. He had, again, self-taught. Um, did this with the New York militia. They started with and he distinguished himself in the battles of Long Island, White Plains, and Trenton, all in 1777. This is when um, the British was really getting up and running us ragged through New York and down New Jersey. But we had a lot of skirmishes where we were able to exit the field intact going, which with other leaders probably would not have been so lucky, or had half of our companies been mowed to pieces, whatever. But he distinguished himself and he stood out with his intelligence, his strategy. And as Lou said, Washington had his eye on him and said, that's a guy I want to be my aide de camp. And he started that in 1777. And talk about a little bit of kismet. He didn't want necessarily to be an aide de camp because he wanted to be in the field, but
Right.
he realized what he could do on behalf of the nation. Um, he could do on behalf of General Washington, who he really admired, and the networking that he did on behalf of General Washington, the negotiating he did, all of the things that Washington really became reliant upon and trusted him more than anyone else in his inner circle. And that paid some dividends for Mr. Hamilton.
Right. And so going through, and so he established himself as a military leader. He established himself as a person who is studied and educated in things that not many people were able to, like, could comprehend or could see. And he parlayed that into further becoming involved after the Revolutionary War was over, and that we were continuing to shape our nation, that he began getting involved in politics and began publishing various articles, which end up being the Federalist Papers. And that's where he really established himself.